Studies have shown anywhere from 10 to 25% of all clinically recognized pregnancies will end in miscarriage. Although many women experience it, it can still be devastating to process. But hopefully the more candid we are, the less alone we will feel. It's important to keep the conversation alive, so I invited our freckled sisters to discuss not only miscarriage, but infertility and postpartum depression. We're going to talk about a topic that I think is sensitive and sometimes a little too hush-hush, infertility. Yep. I personally, I wouldn't say I didn't struggle. I had some bumps in the road, but nothing major. But all of my best friends, a lot of my family members struggled with infertility. Mm-hmm. Did you guys struggle at all?
We did. We're twins, actually, and we both had trouble having children. For me, I was able to get pregnant very easily, but I wasn't able to keep the pregnancy. So I had my son, and in between my son and my daughter, I actually had 3 early pregnancy losses.
I actually had trouble getting pregnant, so it was really challenging for me because I just wasn't getting pregnant. So I went through a lot of fertility treatments and IUI until I had all 3 of my children. So
I don't know. I think as the 20-year-old version of myself thought this is the way that it goes. Right?
I don't even think about it.
Boom, yeah, I'm family.
Now it's my turn, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't work that way. So emotionally, how did you feel, Allison? How did that affect you?
Yeah. So for me, I had a really hard time with it because I'm a very planned personality type A, and everything kind of goes by my schedule. And when I was finally ready to have my family, I wasn't able to get pregnant on my time frame. So that was really challenging for me to just kind of have to adapt to that. Also, the uncertainty of not knowing if you're going to...
Will I have a family?
Right. Will I be able to get pregnant?
Putting all this work into it, and these treatments and the hormones, is it even going to work out for me? Am I going to be able to get that family?
And am I going to be able to have the family? And so that took a very emotional toll on me.
Was the doctor ever able to sort of tell you why you were struggling?
So in my journey to have a family, they could never diagnose anything. And I think that is actually one of the most common reasons.
Is there any advice you can give to anyone out there who's dealing with it? And
I think even as a physician and knowing the medicine behind early pregnancy loss, I still internalized it. Yeah. And you really put a lot of pressure on yourself and your body and go through, the motions of trying to figure out what it was that went wrong. But it's so important for women to understand that the most common reason for an early pregnancy loss in the first trimester is chromosomal abnormalities. So genetically, the baby just wasn't sound, and it wasn't ready. And this is not meant to be, and it will happen. Just have a positive emotion about it, and try your best not to blame yourself.
Infertility, it's so common. People need to realize that if they're right after people get married, or if they're working on their second child, to maybe be a little sensitive about that.
Maybe we should have a little bite to eat, because our topics are going to get us When we come back, more of my conversation with Katie and Allison. Miscarriages. I've unfortunately had too many people. I'm lucky, but it doesn't make it. Whoa! Oh. Sorry, because it just happened to a friend of mine. So
it's hard, yeah.
And just to see how they suffer from it physically is crazy. And you know what it is too, even when it's somebody else, you imagine, because you can be in that place and think, God forbid that happened. Yeah. So what happened?
Even when you go through it yourself and you hear, I had children earlier than Allison did, and I had obviously gone through a few miscarriages, and then when Allison had her miscarriage, it was the same emotion. You just feel so horrible for that person, and you just want to make it better for them, and you just know how disappointing it is and how hard it is to get through it.
For me, I had 1 miscarriage, and it was very disappointing because I was trying so hard to get pregnant, and then you finally... You get that positive pregnancy test that you've been working so hard and wanting so badly, and when you lose it, it's devastating.
So I think that's really hard, is when you put all that pressure on yourself that you did something wrong.
Did you just start not telling people when you were?
When I had that first miscarriage, I waited till I was well into that out of that first trimester before I was very open and excited.
So obviously having a miscarriage is extremely emotional, but what were some of the physical side effects?
You initially have the cramping and the bleeding, which is really hard, but then what I don't think people realize is it takes a while for your body to get back to its natural cycle, and so you can start trying again.
I was at the lowest I've ever been after having my daughter.
Absolutely.
Your body has completely changed.
Right.
You're completely sleep deprived.
Yep.
Right.
Your hormones are crazy busy, and suddenly you're fully responsible for the tiniest, most precious thing.
And it's hard.
And it's hard. Yeah. And I think that, you know, you have this image of motherhood being amazing and every moment being magical, but it's not always that way. And you're gonna have a bad day, and that's okay. And you're gonna have those moments when you're not feeling magical and you have spit up on you and you haven't slept in, you know, days and you haven't gotten out of your PJs, and that's okay. But I think the important thing and the take-home message is that there's help out there and that you don't have to suffer in silence.
So now, having been through everything that you've been through, how does that affect your parenting? How do you feel now as a mom?
Yeah, I mean, I have a crazy life. It's definitely a circus. I can't sit here and say that having 1-year-old twins and a 4-year-old is not extremely stressful. So it's very easy to come home from a long day at work and your toddlers are crying and your 4-year-old is having an accident, and you know, be overwhelmed and stressed with that.
I work as well. We all work.
Yeah,
so it's hard to remember how fortunate we are to like look at that moment and not try to move past it, but to stay in it is really hard.
I felt very fortunate when I was able to have my children and look at them, and you know, it's such a special time, and it's a really special bond that you have, and so it's really enjoyable, and to be able to have that. And you know, not everybody gets that. Not everyone gets to go through IUI and IVF, and it's not always successful. So just being able to see your children and knowing that, you know, you were able to start a family is just,
and that you're not
beautiful.
Changing diapers anymore.
And that the diaper phase is over.
That's nice.
Cheers. All right.
Cheers. Cheers, ladies. For more information about EPL, go to AmericanPregnancy.org. And for more sisterly advice, visit ForeverFreckled.com.